Hey guys, Dave from Timber Time Outdoors. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. In this video, I'm gonna do my best impression of the RV nerd. We're gonna take a look at this camper right here, the Rockwood Signature 281 RK. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in here. If you know who the RV nerd is, I'll do my best impression of him here and move real slow and try not to make you dizzy. If you don't know who the RV nerd is, look him up. He's maybe one of the most famous RV sales guys and does these walkarounds. And he always starts with the interior, so we're gonna do that first. All right, let's walk up the stairs here. We got the Moride stairs. A lot wider than my old camper. And we've got the long extended rail that comes out. One of the things we loved about this camper, when you first walk in, you've got a drop station. Now this camper is only 30 feet long. So for a fifth wheel to be 30 feet long and have this much space is pretty remarkable. We felt like it was a unicorn. Now that's always relative to your needs, of course. But we're coming from a 38 footer, which had everything under the sun. And this thing checked an awful lot of boxes. And so let's talk about what those boxes were, at least for us. So we like to have kind of a drop station. I know people like to call this the coffee bar. But it ends up being, I don't know how you'd even get a coffee pot on there. It's relatively small. But we come in, we usually drop our water bottles and so forth, dog stuff, whatever we're shopping for. We like to have that space. And this over here is actually probably going to get cluttered. Like obviously that's where you eat or do any kind of work as well. It's got two very comfortable stools here. But we just really like this entryway. Shoes are always a problem. This is actually a 2025 model, and in the 2026 model, there's a little shoe storage right there. I'll try to point out the differences between a 2025 and a 2026. There aren't very many. So if you're shopping for new or used, this video should be good for you. Now this is where we keep our shoes. So they're up out of the way. Oops, sorry about that. Get some strong magnets here. Another thing that we really like about Rockwood or Flagstaff is the quality. Pretty remarkable. Sorry, we're gonna have lots of stuff in here too, by the way. We just got this thing and we started loading it up, but quite a bit of storage in that cabinet right there. But the quality of the cabinetry, boy, for being 30 feet long, and I think this thing was $50,000 or something like that. It's unbelievable how nice this camper is for being so small. Typically, when you get a shorter camper and a lighter camper, you have to accept less quality. And that's not the case here. I will point out some things as we go through. So another thing that checked the box for us was, let's just say, storage in general. And so this is a really cool, I guess you'd call it the pantry, but we're getting ready to store this for winter here. So we tend to put things in weird places. So in case we do get a mouse in here, which can happen over the winter, they can't get in our stuff. But we love how this is kind of wide open down here, and get some flexibility. And then of course you got shelves. I'll try to open this up above too. Just a big open space. But like I said, storage typically in a 30-foot camper is pretty hard to come by. And this thing just excels in the kitchen area, and I'll also show you in the bedroom. Just phenomenal. So you have a nice working kitchen area. You know, my wife always says some of these are what she calls a one butt kitchen. That's actually, you could, I'm going to call that a two butt kitchen right there. You could easily have two people in here doing, you know, food prep or whatever. This range and oven is, I guess I'd call it residential size. I mean, you could easily, people love to say you could cook a turkey in here. I don't know why you'd ever do that, but you certainly could. Just super nice quality. It's a Furrion. And then I think a lot of the other appliances are Magic Chef, residential size microwave, which, you know, I guess I don't really care that happened, but, you know, it is what it is. They're putting the good stuff in here. We've got a Insignia smart TV, kind of a neat little cubby underneath there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do what the RV nerd does, and he kind of pauses, and then he'll overlay open cabinetry. So I'm going to do that. I couldn't get that refrigerator to stay open. We'll open it up here, but you can see we have lots of cupboards for dishes and whatever. This cabinet under here is huge. My wife was actually annoyed by it, that it was so huge. She wanted some shelves. Refrigerators, I think, you know, 12 volt, pretty standard. You got a great big freezer here. It's actually on right now, so they've got this plugged in. So I'm going to close that because it's mad that it's losing cold air. And then the refrigerator, of course, these 12 volts are great because they're so big inside. And then a big cupboard up there. Nice big sink. You know, it's the big farmhouse style, so you can get your big pots in there. Got a pull-out sprayer. Everything seems to be, you know, just really nice quality. You got your power of tower over here. I can do that. Anyway, there's your power of tower. My wife actually hates those things. She says they take up room. She'd rather have outlets underneath. Nice set of drawers. I think this is one of the differences in the 2026 is that right there is actually one big drawer, and then you got two smaller ones. I like the built-in silverware. And these are soft close. And that's one of the things that they kind of cheapened out in the bedroom. I'll show you that they didn't use soft close in the bedroom. I'll get over that, but oops, sorry to slam stuff. These magnets are very strong. Okay, so the other thing, of course, in this area is where you eat, and that's a nice space. Got a lot of room over here. So just really good counter prep space. And then this is our favorite part. Another difference between the 2026 and the 2025. If you get the recliner option, so I think you can get a queen fold-out couch option as well. I'm not sure which one is standard. But in the 2025, these are power recliners. And in the 2026, it's that kind of side ripcord thing, which I've been told that those don't hold up very well. Okay, so that's the living room. Let's mosey on up stairs. I'll show you the bedroom. Oh, before we do that, all your controls are here. So solar panel. We're going to talk a little bit more about solar panels. And there's your, you know, your basic. I like the buttons personally. I don't like these digital things that these campers have. And I forgot what that is actually. If you guys know, make a comment. Okay, here we go. There's your thermostat, and that controls both ACs. So this is a 50 amp with dual AC. And this is kind of a standard, fifth wheel bathroom. No drawers, unfortunately, in here. Some of them you'll see drawers. Pretty limited space in there. The sink is plastic, but it does have a nice medicine cabinet, which we like. It's got your skylight, and I suppose I've got to do the shower height thing. I'm 5'7", so I'm gonna flip you around here, and I'll do that. But there's, trust me, plenty of room. Oh, before I do that, it's not a full surround, but I like how the bottom is, the bottom is a full surround. Obviously, there's a seam there that you got to make sure stays caulked, and then it's got a seat or somewhere for you ladies to shave. We've got the porcelain throne here. I don't have a ring to. There we go. Show you it's real porcelain. Pretty deep cabinets. Let's go way back. Sorry, we got stuff in here already. I feel like this is kind of dumb. There is something to fasten here, so I'll probably rig up a board and maybe a towel rack, but it does have a Max Air fan with a remote, which I thought was kind of stupid. Why would you have a remote in the bathroom? But that's the way they have that. And I didn't show you down there, folks, but the fan that's down there is just one of those 4-inch fart fans, and we had them upgraded, but they put the wrong one in. That's where you need a remote because the ceiling's so high. Okay, I'm gonna flip you around so you can see the ceiling height here. Okay, see if we can show you. Here we go. 5'7". I mean, just tons of room here. And it's got the skylight. In case you're super tall, you'll be able to fit in the shower, no problem. All right, we're gonna hit the bedroom next. All right, we've got a real door and a magnet down there on the floor to keep it from flying all over. This is my favorite part of the camper, and I apologize, we got some stuff in here. So there's our custom mattress. That's not what came with it, but it's king size. Full bedroom slide. This is a trunnion slide, so none of that Schwinn tech or cables. Again, this just speaks to the Rockwood quality. The one thing that you do lose here, I can't lift it up. Well, let me see if I can lift it up for you. You do lose a little space under here. Oh boy. Because of the trunnion. So I don't know if you guys can see that there, but it's not as deep as some. So even though it's a king, you get some storage, but not as much. But underneath that board right there is your trunnion. And then notice the aluminum framing. That's, well, there's a nice handle here, which I didn't know, which would have made that process a little easier. Okay, again, full king size bed. You've got outlets there and USBs and a little shelf for your phone. Now, if you have a CPAP, I'm not quite sure how you'd do that. Maybe you'd put it on the floor, but I think you could figure something out there. Fortunately, we don't have that problem. Great big closet. Now, this isn't as deep as our other camper in terms of depth, and my wife was actually complaining about this. So you can't turn these this way or the door doesn't close. So they're kind of angled. First world problem for sure, I think. But there are some drawers in here too, and they're not self-closing. I don't know that it matters, I guess, but kind of nice to have drawers. There's one there, and there's one on the other side here, right there. Got a light switch on both sides, which is kind of nice. You know, they just do the little things really well. I don't think this is washer dryer prep. In fact, I know it isn't because I don't see anything. And then because it's a smaller camper, that ceiling there is kind of rounded. Great big drawers here. Not self-closing though. Or are they? Oh yeah, those are self-closing. So it's only the ones in there that aren't. It did come with a TV. I think that was an upgrade. We will never turn that TV on, but it was here. So I like how you have two windows. So good airflow. You got windows by the bed as well. There is your breaker box. Seems like kind of a weird place for it, but you can access it. If the bed is, the slide is in, you can reach around and contort yourself to change a fuse if you had to. I do like the shoe storage there, and these are, well, that one's full. Not self-closing, but these are quite large. Nice and deep. We get lots of things in there. See if I can give you a zoomed out view. Oops, that's zoomed in. Really nice bedroom. There's your AC unit. It uses the mock airs. So that's one of the things that we liked about Rockwood is they are kind of old school, and so they're not, you know, they're not moving to all this new technology yet. One of the things is hot water heater. I'll talk about that outside. They use an old school hot water heater, and there's a good reason for it, which I'll get to when we get out there. But this is basically the interior of the 280RK. Great storage, great bedroom. You've got great relaxation with power recliners and a TV and plenty of space to cook. If I had to have one complaint, here's my one complaint, and we'll see how this goes. Campside windows are pretty lacking. We've got one there in the back, one there. I really wish it had one right here. I don't understand why they didn't do that. It seems like such a fail to not have at least one more window right there. But let's, for you guys here, we'll quickly go through the outside, which I was delighted at the storage on the outside. Okay, we will talk about the landing gear first. So it's self-leveling, but it's electric. So those of you that have used that know that it has some limitations. I mean, you have to get it somewhat level before that actually works. So you run out of stroke. It'll air out on you, which is annoying. There's a couple cool features here. So you got like this, I know it looks like a bike rack, 2-inch receiver for a grill, and there's your propane. There is a 2-inch receiver on the back, which we'll talk about, which is not for towing on this model. This is a difference on the 2026. They get rid of the bumper and gave you a towing hitch instead of just accessories. But there's your spare. And really good running gear. So you got Kurt leaf springs, and you've got the ABS brakes. And I love that they put the endurance tires on here, so Goodyear Endurance. And hopefully you can see that number. These are 16-inch wheels. For those of you that don't know much about tires, the bigger and the stiffer, the better on a trailer. And for this size trailer, that is really beefy. So I was happy to see that. We talked about this already, but they got the good Moride stairs. Okay, right here is one of my favorite features. old school hot water heater. It's a 12-gallon. And the reason that they don't go to the on-demand heaters is it's like the number one warranty item and replaced item in the RV world right now is these on-demand hot water heaters. And the reason is people can't winterize them correctly. So they have all these little fins, you know, that help heat the water so quickly. Well, good luck getting all the pink stuff in there in the wintertime. And so you end up, you know, splitting those with ice and over the winter. Oh, I got to show you this feature. So anyway, I love that. Okay, so normal base, I got to make this bigger for you. Okay, normal basement. If you grab this slam latch, and by the way, slam latch is everywhere except for on the propane tank. This one right here opens both sides. So they're linked. That is so cool. Can't see any linkage there, but they're definitely linked. Okay, full of stuff. So it's going to be kind of hard for you to gauge how big that is. I think we'll be able to see better from the other side. But tools, my wood box. I mean, I got everything I needed in here. I got my table in there. That's a grill. It's in that big bin right there. I love these little trays right here. You know, they just kind of collect that miscellaneous stuff. So let's keep going here. This video's probably getting a little bit long. Here is your propane, and that's where your regulator is, and hopefully you can see it's got the little gas gauge on it. Pretty standard storage here, and again, slam latches. And I'm not sure if these are linked or not, but let's check. Nope, these ones are not linked. Well, let's check. Nope, they're not linked. Again, full of stuff, but I was able to get, you can see them in their gravity chairs. Right there is my inverter. So I had them put that in. So it's inverter prep. But I wanted them to do that. And then there's batteries. Really bad. Sorry, guys. But plenty of room in here is my point. Is there's a little table and 2 gravity chairs and then our mat. And slam latches. I love this. So separate connection for another propane, sorry, not propane, solar panel. And that's important because, you know, you have a solar panel on the roof. It's basically powering your refrigerator. But let's say you are in a spot that has, oh, I'm not sure why I can't get this open. There we go. Okay. Not super exciting. If you're in a spot where you have lots of trees like that, and your solar panel's in the shade, well, guess what? You know, you're going to have trouble if you're boondocking. And so I like to have a separate solar panel that on a cord that I can bring out into the sunshine. Okay, this is your Lippert ground control 3.0 leveling panel. Most people are familiar with that. And you can see all the stuff I got in here. Everything you need. You got to put that on the roof. But room to spare. Honestly, I, again, went from a 38 footer and I got everything in this basement that I had in my 38 footer. And here's another one of my favorite things that is actually getting harder and harder to find in a small camper is a water bay. And this one, you know, comes with the Nautilus system and of course a filter. It's got your access there, there's power. If you're familiar with Nautilus, you can pump more water into your tank if you want to using that siphon setting. Or this one also has a gravity fill. So if you like to boondock and you need more water, you got 2 ways to put the water in. Fantastic. Oop. Furnace. I want to get one of those little screens on here, but I guess they void your warranty, so I want to keep the birds out of there, man. They like to make nests. Okay, so here's, you can see the trunnion slide here. You can't see the trunnion slide there on the bedroom because it's actually under the bed, like I said. But look at that, there's a light right there. I mean, just the little things. They just do such a good job with the little things. And then lastly, there is your accessory hitch. Oh, by the way, there's 2 dump valves. So this one's your kitchen gray. I don't know if you can see it over there, but there's a black and gray up on the front. Okay, so accessory hitch only. Oh, there's a spray port here too. I don't know that I would ever use that, but if you got a big dog or something, need a spray port, you got it. And I'll take you up on the roof here quick so you can see what's up there. But some campers don't even come with a ladder anymore. Or you can't get to the ladder because there's no bumper, but this one is easy to do. So let's go up top. Okay, you can see the solar panel. And this is actually a mistake. So I had the dealer, we were in a hurry and they goofed us up, but they put the wrong, this used to be a 4-inch fart fan. They put a max air fan in, but they did the wrong one. That one doesn't have a remote, which is silly. So they are sending me one that I'm gonna do myself because I bought this 500 miles away and I'm not gonna bring it back to them. So 2 air conditioners. There's your max air fan that's in the, I apologize, it's a little windy here. Max air fan in the bathroom. It does have a wine guard. And there's your solar panel that runs the refrigerator. But like I said, guys, if you're parking under shade like here, you're not going to get any solar charge. So having a second solar charger is key. One thing that the RV nerd always does is show you road mode. So with the slides in, you have access to your kitchen except for your refrigerator. So I'm going to kind of show you that here. You got to scooch through here, which, you know, I had to lightly step on the slide, but I want to show you where the refrigerator is. So it's right there. So no access to the refrigerator. You can get through there, you just got to kind of be careful. And then sleeping, obviously, you guys would have to do your homework on this. I don't know if you can sleep on a trunnion. You see the slide is in to crawl over the bed. I don't know if you can sleep on that when the slide is in. But again, it's a trunnion slide. So do your homework on that, I'm not sure. That's road mode. All right, we're gonna wrap this video up, but one more feature I forgot to tell you about. Right up there, you've got your awning. You guys see that okay? So it goes the length of the camper. I think it's, you know, over 20 feet long. Now these big long awnings sometimes need a support. You can see it there. So they just do a lot of the little things really well. Wrap this video up. Thanks for watching. It's my first attempt at an RV walkthrough. Like, subscribe, send it to your friends, and remember everybody, keep it in the timber. Bye-bye.